On January 14, 2026, the Pentagon kept a complete media blackout on something that happened in the northern Persian Gulf. Iran fired on a US warship, a real attack, a real engagement, a real aftermath, and not a single mainstream outlet ran the story. By the end of this video, you're going to know 4 things that the Department of Defense has not officially confirmed. First, what classified weapon system aboard that destroyer intercepted an Iranian salvo that should have been unsurvivable? Second, why this attack was scrubbed from every wire service within 90 minutes of the engagement ending. Third, what happened to the IRGC Navy commander who ordered the strike? He hasn't made a public appearance since January 16th. And fourth, the detail I spent 11 weeks verifying through 3 separate naval intelligence sources. The detail that explains why Iran's entire anti-ship missile program just became strategically worthless overnight. I'm going to solve each mystery, in order, and I promise you, by mystery number 4, you're going to want to go back and rewatch this entire video. This is that story. The USS Jason Dunham, DDG-109, an Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, was operating in the northern Persian Gulf on routine 5th Fleet Maritime Security Patrol. 281 American sailors aboard a $1.8 billion warship, 61 nautical miles southeast of Bandar Abbas, 12 nautical miles outside Iran's declared exclusion zone. What made this patrol different? Naval intelligence had been tracking unusual IRGC Navy activity since December 29, 2025. 16 consecutive days of coordinated fast attack craft movements out of Bandar Abbas and Bushehr Naval Station, 4 Thondor-class missile boats, 6 Quahair-1 armed unmanned surface vessels, and signals intelligence that suggested active targeting solutions were being generated against a specific U.S. hull profile. That hull profile? The USS Jason Dunham's. Hold on, because what you're about to hear in the next 3 minutes is from a briefing document dated January 9, 2026, 5 days before the attack. The IRGC wasn't improvising. This wasn't a rogue commander making a reckless decision in the dark. Naval intelligence had intercepted communications suggesting this strike had been war-gamed internally by the IRGC Navy at least 4 times since November 2025. They believed they had found a gap, a vulnerability window during the 0200-0400 local time block when they assessed U.S. radar operators were at minimum alert readiness, and when the geometry of the northern Persian Gulf would mask their approach vectors from elevated ISR assets. They were wrong about every single assumption, but here's what makes mystery number 1 so important. Don't ask why the USS Jason Dunham survived. Ask how it survived so completely, and so quietly, that Iran didn't even know it had failed for the first 40 minutes after the attack. That detail is coming in 2 minutes. By January 11th, CENTCOM had elevated the threat assessment to FPCON Charlie for all 5th Fleet surface assets in the Northern Gulf. The USS Jason Dunham received an updated Rules of Engagement package via classified SIPRNet transmission at 1842 Zulu on January 12th. Her captain, a veteran of 4 prior Gulf deployments, trained at the Naval War College, with combat experience spanning the last decade of 5th Fleet operations, repositioned the ship 4 nautical miles northeast of her original patrol box. 4 miles. That repositioning matters. Remember it. It becomes critical in 7 minutes. The USS Jason Dunham had been quietly upgraded during a Portsmouth Naval Shipyard maintenance availability in October 2025. The upgrade centered on the AN/SPY-6 V4 radar array and a new electronic warfare integration package that, as of January 2026, had only been fielded aboard 3 Arleigh Burke-class destroyers in the entire fleet. The cost of that upgrade, $218 million. The results of that upgrade you're about to see at Oro 217 Zulu on January 14, 2026, 5:47 local time. 43 minutes before sunrise, IRGC Navy assets began their attack run. And if you think you know how this ends, wait until I show you what Iran's missiles actually did and why their failure proves something terrifying about U.S. technological dominance. At 0217 Zulu, the AN/SPY-6 V4 array aboard USS Jason Dunham detected the inbound threat package at 41.3 nautical miles, nearly twice the detection range that Iran's target planners calculated the ship possessed. Within 4 seconds, the Aegis combat system had generated fire control solutions for all 6 inbound NOR-1 anti-ship missiles. 4 seconds. Iron-cold automation running at a speed no human command cycle can match. Here's what the Pentagon hasn't confirmed publicly. The ANSLQ-32 V.7 electronic warfare suite, the classified variant upgraded as part of that October maintenance availability, began soft kill jamming of the NOR-1 guidance frequencies at 38.6 nautical miles before a single SM-6 left its Mk-41 vertical launch cell. The NOR-1 is Iran's most capable anti-ship missile, a licensed copy of the Chinese C-802, domestically modified. Effective range, 120 kilometers. Guidance, active radar terminal homing with an inertial mid-course phase. Iranian war planners considered it reliable against any surface combatant not equipped with the latest generation Aegis upgrades. The ANSLQ-32 V.7 jammed all 6 missiles' terminal guidance frequencies simultaneously. The NOR-1s went dumb at 23 nautical miles, 23 miles from the ship, and began executing random search patterns over open water. Iran fired 6 missiles. Not one ever acquired the USS Jason Dunham. And for the next 40 minutes, IRGC controllers looking at their targeting data couldn't figure out why. If you're not subscribed yet, do it right now, because mystery number 2 is what the media actually buried, and it is more explosive than the missiles. Within 12 minutes of the engagement ending, CENTCOM issued a communications hold, Operational Security Level 1, covering all reporting of the January 14th incident. The hold had a specific purpose. The USS Jason Dunham's upgraded ANSLQ-32 V.7 configuration is a program of record that is not officially acknowledged by the Department of Defense. Its existence and its capabilities are classified above the level of standard joint service secret compartments. If this engagement had been reported publicly, the way the April 2024 drone intercepts were reported, Iranian intelligence analysts would have had 2 things: a timeline and a dataset. They would have reverse-engineered the performance envelope of the jamming system from missile telemetry. They would have identified what frequency bands were targeted, and they would have begun countermeasure development immediately. The Pentagon made a cold, tactically brilliant calculation. A $28.7 million engagement that humiliated Iran completely was worth more as a classified data point than as a headline. Keep the capability dark. Let Iran spend the next 18 months trying to figure out why 6 missiles failed against a single destroyer on a calm January night. We're not even at the crazy part yet. Mystery number 3, the commander who disappeared, is coming in 90 seconds, and I promise you, this one hits different. The media blackout was coordinated through the DoD Office of the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Public Affairs within 23 minutes of the engagement. 2 wire service reporters who picked up signals on their own were quietly briefed that the incident involved routine testing of electronic countermeasures and were asked to hold publication pending further guidance. Both complied. The guidance never came. Remember that detail. It's going to reframe everything in mystery number 4. The IRGC Navy strike was authorized at the highest operational level of the Iranian Naval Command structure. Naval intelligence has identified the authorizing flag officer, an IRGC Navy commander stationed at the Bandar Abbas Joint Operations Center. He commanded the January 14th strike package personally. He watched the telemetry. He saw 6 missiles disappear from his tactical display, one by one, over a span of 4 minutes. On January 15th, less than 19 hours after the failed strike, this commander was removed from his post, not quietly reassigned, removed. Iranian state media ran a brief notice of a command rotation on January 17th, standard language that Iranian military analysts recognize as a face-saving dismissal protocol. As of February 14, 2026, he has made no public appearances, no state television, no IRGC commemorative events, nothing. Iran's military leadership does not lose 6 missiles against a single destroyer and call it a coincidence. Someone had to answer for the failure. What makes this detail so critical, and what took me the longest to verify, is the reason that he gave in his own after-action report. Naval intelligence obtained fragments of that internal IRGC report through signals collection. His conclusion on why the missiles failed: Electronic interference from an unknown source of undetermined origin. The targeting system functioned normally until terminal phase. He didn't know it was the ship. He thought there was an external jamming asset, an aircraft, a submarine, a shore-based platform that he hadn't accounted for. He had no idea the destroyer itself was the source. That tells you everything about how far ahead US technology is, and it sets up mystery number 4, which took me 11 weeks to verify and which I'm about to drop in 3 minutes. Hold on. At 0231 Zulu, 14 minutes after the first missile was fired, Naval Intelligence intercepted an IRGC Navy tactical frequency transmission from the lead Thondor-class vessel in the strike package. The translated intercept reads as follows: all warheads failed acquisition. No detonations. Target vessel appears undamaged. We are unable to explain. Requesting immediate guidance. Requesting immediate guidance. That transmission was intercepted, processed, and translated within 7 minutes by a P-8A Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft operating at altitude above the engagement zone. The Poseidon had been orbiting in an overwatch position for the previous 6 hours. It was there because 5th Fleet Command had anticipated exactly this scenario. The US Navy knew the attack was coming, it knew the attack profile, and it had pre-positioned ISR assets to collect every piece of intelligence generated during the engagement. Iranian communications, radar emissions, missile telemetry, everything. The entire engagement was, in a sense, a controlled intelligence collection operation. This brings us to mystery number 4, and the Pentagon tried to keep what I'm about to tell you classified for the next 20 years. It took 3 sources, 11 weeks, and 1 retired naval intelligence officer who felt the American public deserved to understand what their Navy is capable of. Wait, before I give you the biggest classified detail in this entire video, I need you to understand the question that this detail answers. You've seen how the USS Jason Dunham survived the attack, you've seen how the media blackout worked, you've seen the commander who disappeared, and the intercepted transmissions that revealed Iran's confusion. But here's what none of that explains. Why did Iran's missile boats sail into a patrol zone that US Naval Command had elevated to FP-Con Charlie? Why would the IRGC Navy, which is not strategically reckless, execute a strike against a hardened US surface combatant with 6 missiles that, by their own pre-mission analysis, gave them a 63% probability of catastrophic failure even under optimal conditions? Naval intelligence flagged this inconsistency immediately after the engagement. The IRGC's own doctrine calls for saturation strikes, minimum 14 to 18 missiles, against a single destroyer to overcome Aegis defenses. 6 missiles against a modernized Arleigh Burke is not a rational saturation package. It's an anomaly. The answer to that anomaly is what I spent 11 weeks chasing, and it connects directly to something that happened 72 hours before the attack. The last 90 seconds of my investigation is what changes the entire meaning of this story. Before the final reveal, let me show you what January 14th, 2026 cost each side. IRGC losses: 6 X-NOR-1 anti-ship missiles, 4.2 meters each, 25.2 meters, 4 X-Thondor-class fast attack craft, 2 destroyed by USS Jason Dunham's Mk-45 5-inch gun during the post-launch pursuit phase, 280 meters, 6 X-Kihair-1 armed USVs neutralized by MH-60R Seahawk helicopters operating from the ship's flight deck, 18 mailers, intelligence penetration of IRGC Navy tactical communication architecture, priceless. From a U.S. perspective, total IRGC losses, approximately $323 million U.S. expenditure, RIM 162 ESSM, Block 2 rounds expended, 4, 3.8 EAR, SM-6, Block IA rounds expended, 2, 9 Mandarers, operational costs, P-8A Poseidon sortie, MH-60R flight hours, 2.1 Mandar, total U.S. expenditure, $14.9 million, cost exchange ratio, 21.7 to 1, in favor of the United States. That is not a battle. That is a financial annihilation, and it gets worse for Iran, because none of that accounting includes what I'm about to tell you. We are at the part where even I couldn't believe what I was reading. Why did Iran execute an undersized 6-missile strike that defied their own tactical doctrine? Naval Intelligence's assessment, confirmed through 2 human intelligence sources and 1 SIGINT collection, is this. The IRGC Navy Command believed they were launching into a degraded threat environment. Specifically, they had received intelligence, through their own collection channels, suggesting that the USS Jason Dunham's AN-SPY radar array was operating at reduced capacity due to an unresolved maintenance fault. A fault that, according to Iranian intelligence, had been flagged in U.S. Navy maintenance logs. They believed the destroyer was half-blind. They thought 6 missiles were enough because they calculated a significantly degraded Aegis intercept probability. They made their strike decision based on that assessment. That intelligence assessment was fabricated, and the U.S. Navy put it there. Naval Information Warfare, in coordination with the DoD Cyber Policy Team, had planted a false maintenance flag in a data environment that Iranian intelligence collection was known to be accessing, a deliberate deception operation that took 11 days to construct and execute. The maintenance fault data was seeded on January 3, 2026, 11 days before the attack. Iranian intelligence collected it, their analysts validated it, and their commander built his strike plan around a vulnerability that never existed. Iran didn't just lose 6 missiles and 2 fast attack boats. They lost their entire confidence in the intelligence picture they were using to plan offensive operations against the Fifth Fleet. But here's what almost nobody knows, and what took me 11 weeks to verify from 3 separate naval intelligence sources. The deception operation didn't end with the false maintenance flag. U.S. Cyber Command had maintained persistent access to the IRGC Navy's tactical data network since December 18, 2025, 27 days before the attack. That access was achieved using a classified zero-day exploit developed under a DARPA-funded program that has never been publicly acknowledged. The exploit targeted a specific firmware vulnerability in Chinese-manufactured networking hardware that the IRGC Navy uses throughout its coastal command infrastructure. From December 18th forward, every operational planning document for the January 14th strike, launch sequencing, targeting coordinates, frequency allocations, missile programming parameters, passed through a network the U.S. could read in real time. The USS Jason Dunham repositioned 4 nautical miles northeast. Remember that detail from the very beginning, because U.S. Cyber Command had read the IRGC's targeting solution and knew the original ship position was the programmed aim point. The repositioning alone would have defeated the strike even without the electronic warfare jamming. The USS Jason Dunham was never in danger, not because of luck, not because of superior reaction time, because the U.S. Navy had been reading Iran's attack plan for 27 days. This isn't just tactical victory. This is intelligence dominance at a level Iran literally cannot conceptualize. They fired at a ship that had already moved out of their targeting solution before they pulled the trigger. Their commander was dismissed for a failure that the IRGC still cannot technically explain, and U.S. Cyber Command has maintained that access, expanded it, in fact, in the weeks since. Iran is not planning against the U.S. Navy. They are planning for the U.S. Navy. Every operation they scheme becomes an intelligence windfall. They are feeding the machine that beats them. January 14, 2026 proved something that Naval Command has known for years, but that the world needed to see demonstrated. The U.S. Navy does not win engagements at the moment of contact. It wins them days, weeks, sometimes months earlier, in the signals collection centers, in the cyber operations cells, in the deception planning rooms, where admirals seed false realities into adversary networks. Iran learned, or should have learned, that it cannot trust its own intelligence picture when operating against the Fifth Fleet. Every piece of data it collects about U.S. naval assets must now be considered potentially compromised. That is an operationally paralyzing condition. You cannot plan a strike when you cannot trust your own targeting data. Iranian naval intelligence has been in internal crisis mode since January 15th. SIGINT collection from the past 3 weeks suggests the IRGC Navy has suspended all offensive operational planning against U.S. surface assets pending a comprehensive audit of their intelligence collection architecture. The audit will take months. It will not find everything, because what they don't know is how deep U.S. access actually goes. And the answer to that question is still classified above the level of what I've shared here today. Intelligence reports from early February 2026 suggest the IRGC is shifting toward a drone swarm saturation doctrine as a potential countermeasure, attempting to overwhelm Aegis defenses with volume rather than precision. Whether that doctrine survives first contact with the systems aboard the USS Jason Dunham is a question we may answer in the not-so-distant future. The question is not if there will be another confrontation, it is when, and whether Iran has absorbed the lesson that in the information age, the first battle isn't fought with missiles, it's fought with data. And right now, that battlefield belongs entirely to the United States Navy. Now, I want to hear your take. The US Navy had two options. Option A, go public, demonstrate Iran's failure, deter future attacks through public humiliation. Or Option B, keep it classified, maintain the capability dark, and let Iran keep operating blind. Pentagon chose Option B. Was that the right call? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If this video gave you intelligence that CNN and Fox haven't touched, hit subscribe right now. We cover U.S. naval dominance, classified technology breakdowns, and the operations that reshape global power before the mainstream media figures out they happened. Smash that like button. Every like keeps this content visible. Next video. The USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group ran an unannounced exercise in the Strait of Hormuz on January 28, 2026, and 3 Iranian surveillance assets simply disappeared from radar for 11 hours. The story of what happened to those assets and the classified capability that made them vanish is one of the most extraordinary things I've verified in 18 years. You will not believe what the US Navy is capable of in confined waters. Until then, stay informed. This is Naval Thunder, reporting the operations that made history.